Ladies and gentlemen, would everyone stand for the pledge? At this time, I'd like to introduce Stu Bailey from Lackawanna County Veterans Affairs. He's going to come up to the podium. Stuart Bailey is a retired Army veteran who fought in the Korea War, serving a tour in Germany. Stuart held the rank of a Special 4, serving in the field as a field wireman. He was awarded the Soldier of the Year Medal in Berlin. It is a past commander of the VFW Post 7069 of Clark Summit. Stu, thank you for your service. The floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. Face the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, would everyone please remain standing? I'd like to just have a moment of silence. We had another horrible situation that occurred. I'd like to have a moment of silence for Jennifer Golick, Christine Lober, and Jennifer Gonzalez. They were killed by a lone gunman at the Pathway home in Yattsville, California, where they take care of veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And one other person, and this bothers me because, we should have the utmost respect for our law enforcement. They really matter. Pomona, California police officer Gregory Cassis, 30, was fatally shot March 9th after he and another officer chased a suspect and barricaded himself in a bedroom and began firing through the door. As the officers tried to contact him, Captain Bergen of Los Angeles Sheriff's Department told reporters the second officer was also killed. Mr. Casillas is a father, and he is a husband, and he will be deeply missed. I'd like to keep him and the 3 other ladies that lost their lives in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to welcome the John F. Kennedy students for coming out today. Thanks for coming out, guys. I'd like to bring this Monday, March 12th, 2018 Board of Commissioners meeting to order at 10 a.m. in the Commissioners' Conference Room. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Terriani?
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley?
Yes, and that was a motion for the approval of minutes from our past meeting. I had an opportunity a few weeks ago to stop over at John F. Kennedy Elementary School and to see the 3rd grade classes, great work that they've done. This would have been last Wednesday, but we had the snowstorm and you guys were out from school too. And we were hoping, because this would have been nice before the parade, but I wanted to bring it in so we could show all the different depictions of the landmark buildings in downtown Scranton. And I'd like to thank you for a job well done. You have all the streets, you got them all designated, you've got the electric building, you've got the Times, you've got the Mulberry Street Bridge, and you have the Lackawanna County Government Center right there on Wyoming Avenue. And that's where we're going to be going before the end of this year. So we'd like to thank you for the great work that you've done, especially to the teachers that are here. Ms. Zacchio, Sarah, our principal, Nathan Barrett. This really matters. And to you, and for the kids, they have understanding on what downtown Scranton's about. Eventually you guys will be on the bus, and the bus will show up on these streets. You may be being dropped off maybe by the government center, or you might be taking a transfer up to the mall. So there's a lot of different opportunities in downtown Scranton. But the job that you've done in the depiction of downtown Scranton is second to none. At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Cummings to say a few words.
I love the fact that, look at all the cars, too. Great
I
job,
didn't even think about
everyone.
that.
You did a great job, and, so proud of all the work that you're doing, and thank you to the teachers, especially, for all your hard work.
Commissioner Terriani?
When I walked in this morning, I was overwhelmed with the tabletop And Ms. Sarah explained to me that this is only a part of it. They've done Up Valley, they've got other parts of this. This is just a small portion of what these children have done, and it's a great job, and they did a beautiful job, and it really shows that we do have great teachers and we have great students, and thank you for everything you guys have done. Appreciate it. Good job.
Who would like to step up to the podium and say a few words on behalf of our model of downtown Scranton?
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley, Mr. Notarianni, Ms. Cummings, for having us here today to display our projects. Students started working on this project all the way back in October. It was something Ms. Sarah and I had just talked about just in passing. We had no idea how large this project would become, the undertaking, and how physically big it is. It was a pleasure to have the students learn about the buildings, their city, and the different landforms that are in the city. We loved with this cross-curricular activity with art and social studies, and we love displaying it here. Thank you so much.
Great job.
As the art teacher at John F. Kennedy, it was wonderful to see Ms. Zacchio's third grade students work collaboratively on this project-based, multicultural, cross-curricular project. A piece missing from this project are the individual houses with the nationality and flag of each student. I'd like to thank Mr. O'Malley and Mr. Barrett, our principal, for this opportunity to display our students' artwork here at the Lackawanna County Commissioner's Office. One of our students, Delaney, would like to talk about this project, and I'd just like to say this project will be at the Trolley Museum for our Scranton School District Art Show on March 23rd. It's a Friday night. I hope to see you there.
We all work.
Delaney. Yeah.
You could hold her arm, so for safety purposes, okay? Hey, Delaney, you're okay?
Do you want any other stand?
Stand up. Good standing.
Delaney, now you're taller than all of us.
We all worked hard and had fun. Our art is beautiful, and together we made everything perfect. We were able to build clay cars and paint the city streets and buildings. Today, on the bus ride down here, we were able to see many of the buildings we made. Thank you.
Oh, that was nice.
Thank you, Laney. Thank you very much. And for the viewing audience, when I saw this this took up like a quarter of the classroom, and I'm thinking, wow, it's big, all of Lackawanna County. So I think, what would be best? And then me and Mrs. Zacchio talked, and I said, well, what about just downtown Scranton? We'll narrow it down. That I figured that it could fit on the conference table, and it actually did by 2 feet. So.
So they
Great
did the
job.
whole entire county?
Yeah, you have to go, if you want to go see it, you have to go down.
Where's it
Will it
at?
be on display down the trolley, the whole thing then?
At the Trolley Museum, March 23rd.
So that'll be all of it?
Yes.
The whole thing, including the students' homes. They're quite beautiful. Each student was able to make their home very unique, and we have lots of students from different countries, and they have their flags displaying where they came from.
Is there a time, or is it
6 to 7:30.
6 to 7:30? No, that's great.
And that show will be up for 2 weeks' time at the Trolley Museum. So if you can't make it that Friday night, it will be displayed for 2 weeks.
Beautiful. Well, kids, I know, now what do you think? You think you're going to have a snow day tomorrow? What do you think? Oh. I told my son they're going to start adding these at the end of the year. Okay, we have a certificate of recognition. The County of Lackawanna Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize John F. Kennedy Elementary School, Ms. Zacchio's third grade class, in honor of achieving a designation of a group providing great works in Lackawanna County on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. Would you guys like to, this is Fran's job now, come forward?
You guys want to go up with the commissioners?
You guys were able to do a picture before, were you?
Do you want to sit between? And some in between, some down in front too. Let's go in between. And then some down in front. Yep.
Okay, buddy, keep doing this. You're good.
Now some start filling in front.
They might There's not that many here today. All the teachers should come.
And the teachers and the principal.
Jump her in, come over here, doll.
Boys and girls, fine job. Congratulations. To the teachers, thank you, because these are the type of things, like, this is in their mind now. They know where Lennon Street is. They know where Mulberry Street is. They know where Wyoming Avenue is, because you guys made the roads. You made the streets. You made the avenues. So congratulations. We're gonna have you, lady. You can hold that, okay?
Okay, here we go. We'll take three. Then ready on three. 1, 2, 3. Or smiles. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Good
You're
job.
gonna decide who's gonna be a
Such
project
a
now.
pleasure being here. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Building on your way out. Go ahead.
Thank you for coming in.
Troy.
Guys, have a good day, okay?
Guys,
Thanks, guys.
grab a building on your way out.
This is for you.
We're gonna take that, we're gonna hang that in school.
What's your school?
Carry it for me. Delaney's gonna carry it. We can all look at it on the bus.
I went to Scranton Times. Can I get Delaney's name?
No, this is for
Delaney, come here, sweetie.
I asked them, I said, do you want to leave? They said, no, we'll have it.
Spell your last name. A-Q.
And where are you from, Delaney? Scranton?
You have a heck of a team there, I'll tell you.
Great work.
Great job, guys.
Thank you so much.
Good teamwork.
She told me good job. We appreciate you coming in.
It's yours. Yours. Wow, that was fast. Good job. Took time to put it up and not to take it down. Great job. Go ahead, you're fine. Absolutely. Yeah, look at that. Oh, jeez. There was a lot, now there's none.
Yeah, I think we're ready. Okay, how's he doing? Good? Yeah. I wish I knew about this ceremony.
All right, come on in, everybody.
One more, Joe. I'll give you this one. I'll take that one. Is Tracy joining us or not? Fran? Are you doing it? Yeah. I think we might. Why don't you start
Good actor shooter. I thought we do the kids first.
You got the sheriff's department next, Commissioner? Oh.
Where are the sheriff's deputies out in the hall? Come right up. Whoever would like to speak first, go right up to the podium. We're going right to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, our country's had a lot of scary situations, you know, going out to a movie theater, school shootings, you know, I mean, shootings all over the place. You know, I mean, right up in Tunkhannock, there was a shooting where 3 people died, and, you know, I mean, it's like an epidemic. And I hope that we don't have any more. And I had to talk about one that just happened in Florida a couple days ago at a rehab for post-traumatic stress disorder hospital. And it scares me because, you know, I mean, this goes on all the time. But our sheriff's deputies came up with a training seminar, whatever you'd like to call it, that's second to none. And I think, did all of our employees go through it already? Is everybody through now? We have a lot of employees, thousands some. But I really mean from the bottom of my heart, it was a job well done, and I'm going to go on a little bit more about it. This time, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody all of their employees that partook in the training, and it was a great thing to see from the morning when we first started that nobody had a plan and everybody was nervous, to the afternoon where we had a plan set and everybody had the confidence and know how to go through with what to do if one of these situations was to happen.
Commissioner Cummings?
Thank you for the work that you've done, and glad to have you here.
Commissioner Terriani?
The training was helpful, and it was informative, and was interesting, and I think it is something that was important for us to do, and give everyone a general idea of what they should do under circumstances like that if it should develop. Thank you.
Now, like, our employees, I was looking at some, and I could tell some of them, their faces were like, well, why do we have to do this? I could just see it in their face, and I could see some people were like, how long is this going to take? And then some people had a little bit of fear, and I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of that day, they had knowledge that they never would have ever had. And what I really liked at the end of it was you guys, basically, deputies said, think about your own work environment. Think about the doors where you work. Think about your office. Think about the safety, the security.
Sorry.
But way beyond that is just the idea, and this is all of us, and I've been talking about this for years, to just be cognizant of your surroundings and really look where you're at and what's going on. And the training that you guys did with all of our employees is something that can be utilized anywhere, anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And that matters. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? It's a different type of world. I wish we were just doing fire drills. But this is something that we have to look at to make sure that our community is secure and make sure that we're safe. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of our employees for the great job that all of you have done. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'd also like to thank Sheriff McAndrew for having the deputies and you guys putting this together. And I know this wasn't something like you just went, this took time.
Yes.
There was a lot of time involved in this. You know, we just had Dave Hahn do one for the community, but it was just a seminar. Yours was actually a physical, active event where people had different scenarios, and it made you have to think of different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Get away, barricade the door, or fight. You mean 3 different situations you might be actually forced into.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy to say that I know on the back of our mind, our employees have an idea if something was to happen, which I hope never ever happens. But thank you for giving them that peace of mind that if something was to go on, they understand what they have to do. We have a certificate of recognition. The County of Lackawanna Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize Lackawanna County Sheriff's Department and the deputies in honor of a designation of a good works in Lackawanna County, given the 12th day of 2018, March 2018, by Patrick O'Malley, Jerry Notarianni, and Lorraine A. Cummings, Commissioners of Lackawanna County. Thank you. Would you please come forward? Thank you very much. Great job. Great job. And we beat a bad guy.
Who's there? Coach, slide in.
We get everybody in.
Everybody in? Ladies first.
Oh, well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
For coming. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you for coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, our law enforcement has taken on so many different roles, including our first line of defense against terrorism. So when you see a police officer or sheriff's deputy or any law enforcement, thank them for the job they do. Thank you, deputies. Thank you for the job. Well done. Thank you. Commissioner Cummings.
We have Cronin's Irish Cottage here today. Brita Cronin Homes. Hi, how are you? Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. I own Cronin's Irish Cottage. We're located in the marketplace at Steamtown, but we've been around, it'll be 33 years this year. My parents started the business on Kaiser Ave, and then we moved into Steamtown through the years. My father passed away, it'll be 10 years, and my mom passed away very suddenly this past April, so we were left trying to determine whether or not we were going to continue on with the business. We weren't really sure, but I had so many people reach out to me and say how their traditions were so wrapped up in the store. I feel like there are three kinds of Irish people. There's Irish people, Irish Americans, and then Northeastern Pennsylvania Irish. So I realized that Northeastern Pennsylvania Irish had a lot of traditions with communions, weddings, gifts. It was just more than merchandise. So my husband, gave me the go-ahead, and I took over the store, left my job. Best decision to keep my parents' legacy going.
Very nice.
And I'm just so grateful that the county, the city, everybody has been so good to us and has kept us going. So it's an experience. So I really appreciate you having me.
I didn't, where in the mall are you?
We're in the marketplace at Steamtown on the first floor.
First floor?
We'd actually been in the mall the day that it opened, and we used to be seasonal. So we've been there now for the past couple of years. But we're on the first floor next to where the aquarium's going to go.
Yeah, you're in a store now. You used to be actually
Oh,
on
yeah.
the floor, right?
We used to do kiosks
Yeah.
through the years, which is a little dangerous during
Yeah.
parade day season. I can assure you. But yeah, we're in an actual.
The stuff isn't free that day?
No, you would be surprised. Yeah. Yeah. But we're in an actual store, and we've got, all authentic, Aran sweaters and jewelry. We actually just started carrying food. So we have like the Irish sausages and bacon and everything. So if you've ever been to Ireland, you get that nice, Irish breakfast that a lot of us need the day after Parade Day or St. Patrick's Day. So, yeah.
Some green
brown
beer.
bread. Yeah, we weren't quite approved for that part of it, but
You got Strass Crystal too, don't you?
we have Waterford Crystal. Waterford, Emerald Crystal, Balik China. Yeah, we've actually started doing wedding registries, so we're kind of wrapping the tradition up even more. So we're really taking it to that next level. We also did a Christmas concert with Andy Cooney, and we had it at the theater at North, which is amazing if you haven't been there.
Yeah.
And we just did an Irish language class. We brought in the Irish language learners from Philadelphia. My dad taught me a little bit of Irish, and my mom used to say when we were in the store, if somebody came in that she wanted me to keep my eye on, she would say, faking Colleen Shin, which means watch that strange woman. So I said, I know how to curse and I know how to pray, so maybe I should get a couple of the Irish language learners in to teach me a little bit more. So it was a really good turnout. So
That's such a great story that you were willing to quit your job to take over a business that your parents had started. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
alone.
I had a 401k.
and for making that leap, because that's a big decision and it's very difficult, and very proud of you. I do remember when you opened on Kaiser Avenue, and when my son finds out that you're doing weddings, his will be the first one in line.
All right.
He had a trip to Ireland last year, so he couldn't wait to get there. So thank you very much, and great to have you here, and so proud of you.
Thank
Great
you.
story. Thank you for sharing
so
it with
much.
us.
Commissioner Terriani?
Well, do a great job. I'm not a shopper. I remember your store when it first started.
I do.
My
I
wife
remember
loved your
that.
store.
Yes.
Place we went.
And that seems to be the way that works. But great job, and keep it up, and we're so happy to have you.
Thank
You're
you.
A great addition to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bretta, thank you for keeping the store, the Irish Cottage, alive, first and foremost. Second generation. I know your parents, especially, we're in March now, and St. Patrick's Day is this Saturday. I know they're looking down on them, they're smiling, and they're
Thank
very,
you.
very happy. Your customers are absolutely like relatives and friends when they come in. And I walk in the store, you can hear laughter and just talking, and it's just such a great uplifting feeling when you walk in this store and you have everything that you need. And if you don't have it, you're able to find it. But it just matters so much. And there's a great picture in the store, actually, in front of Cronin's Irish Cottage on Kaiser Avenue. And it's Bretta, actually, and she's like a little girl in this picture. It must have been the grand opening of the actual store itself. But it really, really matters. And this, what else is even neater, is the fact that, and we just happened to have her coming in, but this past weekend, she is the Northeast woman. That's with her son, and that was this past week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's my mom.
Yep.
In the front there.
Yep,
smiling.
there's the mom's picture right there, and this picture right here, there's a little girl right there.
That's me.
That's her.
And a funny thing about that picture where my mom is smiling, she's actually holding my son in that picture. So you just can't see him in it. And I'm holding him. And then we're in the background, so it means a lot. She's watching.
Oh,
Believe me,
She's
if
keeping
you
an
knew
eye
Nora
on you.
Cronin,
Making sure you're keeping the
she's
shop
cursing
running
at
the
me
right
if I'm
way.
not doing well. Smoking that merit, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, now listen. Where are you at? So people in the viewing audience, they want to come down, they want to buy some authentic Irish stuff. Where would they go?
Yeah, you're going to go to the marketplace at Steamtown on the first floor. That's where our full store is. We have a website, cronin'sirishcottage.com, and I'm always on Facebook. It's actually funny. I posted Scranton Irish shirts for the parade leading up to this, and people who weren't going to the parade, I sent them to Florida, California. I was mailing them from my Facebook page because of everybody who's from the Scranton area and is so proud of where they're from now. You know, so that was a really, really surreal moment. So
One of the best parades in the country, the very best.
yes.
Phone number. They want to call you. What's the number?
570-342-4448.
Commissioner Cummings has a certificate for you.
Oh, wonderful.
A certificate of recognition. The County of Lackawanna Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize Cronin's Irish Cottage in honor of achieving the designation of a small business spotlight in Lackawanna County, given this 12th day of March 2018 by Commissioner O'Malley, Commissioner Notarianni, and myself, Commissioner Cummings. Come on up.
Our Northeast woman.
Congratulations.
They should have taken the picture then.
My husband took a picture of me drinking my coffee. He's like, that's my Northeast.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so
No,
much.
but I read the paper and I was still going through it thinking, oh, she's a Northeast woman too.
Everything was blocked off when I came
Timing
up
was
to
perfect.
have
having a really good,
a
really
good
good
mark.
couple of
this thing
weeks.
for us.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 more, 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Same to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. So proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This is yours.
Oh, thank you. I'm so
And
excited.
this is yours too.
Oh, thank you. I'll be plastering all this stuff around my house. My husband's not going to want to come home. You look like your mama. Thank you. I'm starting.
When you want.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have an opportunity, stop it down at the marketplace and the Cronin's Irish Cottage. Bretta, thank you very much and have a great day. Okay, Chief of Staff Andy Wallace.
Prior to doing the Government Center update, I believe Bob Fume is here to give us an update on Colts.
No. That was going to be on, the reasoning that was going to be on was because of the parade, but now we scratched it.
At this time, we'd like to invite an update on the Government Center at the Globe Store on our progress and tell us what's going on. We have Gary Cavill, our county engineer. We have Mike Hogan representing Quandel, our construction manager. And I believe we have Bill Byron representing Palumbo Architects. I don't know whether John is able to join us or not, but we have the three individuals here. We'd like to invite them up to the microphone to give us an update. First, Mike Hogan, and if there's any questions that Gary or Bill may be able to answer of the commissioners, we are going to do these on a quarterly basis until we open on December 1st.
All right, good morning. I'm Mike Hogan from Quandel Construction, and
Shoot for November 1st.
September 1st.
they're shooting us for as quickly as possible.
Next week. I'm only kidding. Go ahead.
We saw the building completed. It was on the cable here today, this morning, Mike.
Magic.
It was in the model.
It's magic. Well, since the job has gotten started from January the 2nd, we have most of the work has been for planning and demolition for the project. So most of the floors are all now substantially demolished and have been cleaned up, and the stage has been set to start the building process. Floors 2 through 5 have started. The wall framing has begun, and a lot of the rough-in for the mechanical electrical systems are in place. As I mentioned, the other activities that have been taking place are what we call submittals, is the things, planning of the work and things, approval that the design team to confirm that what was on the plans specifications is now what the contractors are providing. So that has been taking place and is mostly complete or substantially complete for most of the trades. There has been a lot of, I mentioned coordination, a lot of RFIs going back and forth. Approximately about 75 questions have come back and been answered.
Maybe you want to tell them what an RFI is, Mike.
Request for information is sort of the process we go through to document the questions that the contractors are asking and the answers that the design team is providing for the contractors. It's really just coordination and clarification of what's on the contract documents. Just to make sure that what they build is what the county, what's been designed and what the county desires. Sometimes it needs a little clarification, especially on a renovation project. Some conditions may not be exactly what's shown on the plans. So that was part of it. As I mentioned, we're moving into the rough-in stage, which is above the ceiling, which is mechanical, electrical, rough-in for lighting and HVAC systems and fire protection, plumbing. That will take place probably over the next few months, and then probably beginning sometime early summer, we'll get into the finish project, which means all the drywall and finishes, painting, flooring, ceilings like that will go on from probably midsummer to the completion of the project. So that in a nutshell is where we stand right now. Financially, schedule-wise, we're approximately 18% at the end of February, about 18% through this contract schedule, assuming that December 1st is our completion date, which is what is required by contract. We are also, for cost, through the end of February, the contractors have billed $579,158.57, which is 4.2% of the contract amount, and the schedule is, as of the end of February, 18%, as I mentioned.
Mike, let me stop right there real quick. For the viewing audience, if we had just did a bond, at this point, we would have paid an interest over $600,000 to date on that bond. What we did was we did a mortgage, and all we've taken out is exactly what Mike said, that number. That's it. That's the amount of money that's been taken out of the multi-million-dollar loan. So it's really great savings for us. Go ahead.
So as I mentioned, that's pretty much where we stand. There's a lot of detail we can get into, but I don't know if that's for today's meeting. But I mean, every day we're working hard every day. The design team and the contractors, things are going as planned, I would say, what we would expect to see. And everyone seems to be working together very well.
Commissioners?
Has there been any change orders or anything?
There have been no change orders to date. But I believe there's something in the work for 911, which maybe the design team could mention.
For who?
911, I think there's some ancillary.
Commissioner, the 911 center has money allotted that isn't being used for four or five backup stations that they'd like to put within the building itself. So that's going to be a change. It's not coming out of this budget. It's coming out of
their budget.
Their budget, that they have so much money allocated that's being used. That's also going to pay for the cell tower over there.
Do it before we close the walls.
Yes. It's much better to do it at this time. And I believe we have more room now. I mean, Bill would be able to, I forget who moved out or needed less space. CYS. So we have allocated space now.
So they don't need as much space now?
No.
Why is that?
I don't know whether it's their funding or they downsized or, I'm not really part of the programming.
I'm sorry, on children and youth, we originally projected the 4A daycare was going to go in there, and they're phasing out at the end of the year. They're currently located in another building on Adams Avenue. They are going to have a small presence there. 4 of the employees are going to fold in and become part of children and youth, but that's the reason for the change on that.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks. Okay.
I'm not done.
Oh, keep
I'm
going.
sorry.
Keep going.
Any unforeseen problems that you've run into at all?
Unforeseen problems, I guess a little bit of asbestos was found in the basement and some, under some mastic of some existing floors that was hidden from view. It's the mastic actually under the tile floor. So that was actually found during the demolition process, which has been taken care of, or substantially, I believe, taken
Very
care
small amount, Mike.
of. Small amount, yes.
You got to understand that building was built in like 1890 something.
Well, floors
So
are
I'm sure
made of
there was-
it. Yeah,
what's that?
floors used to be made of asbestos. So
Right, and I believe that the
Wrapped
prior
around all the
owner had,
pipes.
had indicated that the building was free of asbestos, and I just think this was areas that had not been renovated for them, or was, like I mentioned, under
was covered.
under existing floors, which you may even have in this building right here. It's it's not hazardous.
As long as it's not dust and
hazardous
it's
long-
not.
Right, that's correct.
yeah, some of the older homes we go into, our nurses, the actual linoleum, the tiles are
Yeah.
made of asbestos, and
You used to have asbestos
unless they're-
siding.
Yeah, it's a again, it's nothing I wouldn't have expected. I mean, it's a common issue in a building of this vintage. That's about right.
Okay, so are we ahead of schedule? Are you seeing to be ahead of schedule at any point in time?
The baseline schedule has just been published. We are, as far as the baseline schedule goes, we're right on schedule. There'll be monthly, monthly updates to the schedule, and we'll monitor that as we go forward. From what I can see, for the next 6 weeks, I would say, what we can plan out, we should be able to meet the schedule that's on the baseline schedule.
And the working hours, they're,
Working hours?
yeah.
Approximately 7 to about 4 o'clock. But there's obviously people there after 4 sometimes, and about before 7, but that's about the hours, 7 to 4:30.
Commissioner Cummings had raised a question, too, about the lighting in the building that I addressed at our meeting last week when it's left on in the evening, and you explained to me that's for security purpose throughout the entire building with
Right.
all the mechanical equipment and all of the contractor's equipment, and also for our under contact with our fire insurance policy that we're required to do that. So they're not working in the evening, but the lights are required to be open. Be on, I'm sorry.
That's correct.
That's what you explained to me.
So if there was an emergency for the building where, so someone had to get into the building, police or someone was called there, they would have no way to, there's not a light switch they could turn on. They'd have to go to electrical power to turn it on. They wouldn't know where to find that. So we'd leave the lights on for security reasons and for safety reasons, just in case.
They only work Monday through Friday, 7 to 4?
Someone was there this weekend. I believe they were also there taking care of some of the asbestos so that we can keep on
I
schedule.
saw them when I was walking by during the parade. They were in the
Right.
building.
They entered on the back side of the building on Penn Avenue on Saturday morning. That was the arrangements we made with them.
That's correct. To avoid the parade. The hours are, that's the standard work hours. If necessary to maintain the schedule, the contractors are required to work the hours they need to work in order to maintain the schedule.
I just never heard of a construction, I didn't know that they worked just 7 to 4. I mean, that's what I'm saying, like if there's halfway done with the project and they just, okay, we'll finish it tomorrow.
We did do a construction schedule option on how much it would cost if we wanted to do the building quicker and have them work more shifts, and I believe it was in the neighborhood of $350,000, and we turned that alternative down.
The
I didn't.
The job does have a PLA, a labor agreement, and the labor agreement with the unions requires certain work hours. So anything beyond what the union agreements, depending on which one you're talking about, does have overtime requirements and paid, half-time, double-time pay.
See-
So that's why it's.
And who mandates that we have to do that?
Who mandates?
The state mandates that? Is that who does that?
That's the PLA.
Who does that?
Not even the PLA, I mean.
Gary, why don't you speak in the mic?
You would have, yeah, sorry. You would still have to pay Prevailing Wage Act, which anything above an overtime, you're going to end up paying time and a half or double time, which
Why
is
is that?
mandated by the state.
The state
Anything
is...
over, I believe, I want to say $25,000. Does that seem right, Don? $25,000, you have to use prevailing wage rates for any municipal government.
And I know a
You ca-
prevailing
and that's-
wage rate
And that's
is,
the
but
way it is, right, Gary?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I had some other people ask questions about it. There's no prevailing wage is the way you'd have to
You
go.
can't get around prevailing wage.
but I'm just asking these for the audience so that they understand, because I've gotten questions on it, just as Commissioner O'Malley and
Yeah,
probably
sure.
Commissioner Natariani has.
Yep.
And I want the public to understand exactly what's going on with everything. So, what is a prevailing wage? Please let the public know.
The Prevailing Wage Act it goes by, I want to say, separate counties, and it depends on what type of workmanship it's doing. And what it does is it ensures that the workers are getting paid properly, and it's mandated by the state. I mean, you submit to the state what kind of work you're doing, where it is, and they will mandate what your prevailing wage rates are.
And
In this case,
when
we
you say the
also-
state, who are you talking about? Are you talking about
Pennsylvania, it's
Department
not
of
federal, it's state.
some
Commonwealth of
department
Labor
that
and
we have
Industry,
to?
Gary.
Labor and- yeah.
Department of
Pennsylvania Labor and
Thank
Industry.
you.
Illinois.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
So it's labor and industry. And then the reason being is because it's over $25,000 that we have to utilize that specific, that's in the law from labor and industry.
Correct, Commissioner.
Okay, and, that's set by our legislature and our governor, correct?
It's been set by our government for, I think, since like 72. Yes.
Now, does a private company have to do that?
No, a private company does not, municipal and government.
Okay, so only governments are required to...
The only time private would have to do that is if they're receiving some kind of state, if they receive either a type of loan or a grant from the state.
Yeah, funding. A
Or
funding.
is
You'd
it a
have to- you'd
spinoff
have to
of the
adhere to it.
Davis-Bacon Act?
Well, that's the federal.
And the state is a spinoff of that, correct?
I believe so,
That's what I'm asking,
Randy.
right?
You would know, yeah.
I just want to educate the public to some of this because they're not aware of it. And this is a reason for some of the costs that we incur at the government level is because we have to abide by these prevailing wages, which are, do you know what they're set at currently?
Commissioner, there's, honestly, if I pull up, there's 7 pages of different
Okay.
workmanship.
Can we find those in the public? Can we go on a website and find those?
They're part of the bid documents, yes.
They're in our bid documents and they're
Yes.
online? You want to stand in?
You can actually look up the job on the on Labor and Industries website, and you can...
Oh, that would be great. Could you give the public the information on where they looked that up? Or don't you know?
I don't have the website in front of me, but it's Labor and Industry, and you look under the Lackawanna County Center at the Globe, and you'll find...
It's right on the Department of State's website, all the
Yeah,
information.
you would look up PA Labor and Industry under Google, and then you'll find it, and then you're able to look in.
And they put all of our contracts up there and everything that...
Not all of our contracts, the ones that we use prevailing wage rates for, though. I mean, everything on the Globe.
They put
The
up
wage rates, not the contracts.
Oh, okay, so, all right, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So the wage rates that we're paying from the workers there are right on the Department of State's website under Labor and Industry?
Correct.
Okay. So if anyone from the public wants to look that up, they can go to the Department of State website,
Yes.
Labor and Industry. And it's called the Globe, Work at the Globe, or is it called Government, Lackawanna
Oh,
County?
Lackawanna County Center at the Globe, it's the name of the
Okay.
official name of the job.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, guys. Thanks for the update. Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Did I forget? Did I forget to go to?
Yes, we did.
Joan Hodawana, it's 220 Linden Street, Scranton. With regard to this update on the Globe, there was an article in the paper on the 10th, and you may recall, reference one of the 4 passenger elevators would need substantial repairs. Do we have a firm cost estimate on those repairs?
We'll talk about it under commissioners.
Okay. And also, I would like to know when that thing is projected to be functional. Will it be 1st of September, 1st of November, 1st of December, or we're talking 2019 kind of thing? Am I correct in assuming that the building is fully insured for fire, accident, all forms of liability while we have workers in there?
$50 million.
Protect it?
Yes,
Okay.
like any other project.
Okay, and on the agenda, 18-0057, I didn't see an attachment. It says authorizing a reimbursement resolution. What are we reimbursing?
Commissioners, I'll explain that, but I was under the
Go ahead.
impression it was attached to the agenda. I didn't go through and check. If we missed that, I apologize. It should have been attached to it.
Okay, all right, I'll be back again.
Okay. Resolutions 18-0056, approving current payables.
Be resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County does hereby approve the following payables from Lackawanna County General Fund, numbers 258587 through 259489 inclusive, totaling $2,410,597.32. Electronic fund transfers, including all payroll accounts, totaling $4,917,474.48.
Does the board have any questions? I'd like to make a motion to approve current payables. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 18-0057.
This is authorizing a reimbursement resolution, whereas the County of Lackawanna intends to issue one or more series of general obligation bonds to finance various projects, which include, among other things, acquisition and renovation to a property at 1360 Wyoming Avenue in Scranton, Pennsylvania, whereas said acquisition, repairs, or capital improvement projects are expected to commence prior to the issuance of the bonds, and the county desires to advance certain of the costs of the project from general funds of the county which do not constitute proceeds of tax-exempt bonds or notes. Whereas the county, in compliance with Section 1.150-2 of the United States Treasury Regulation, reasonably expects to reimburse itself for the expenditures made for it, said project with proceeds of the bonds. Now therefore be it resolved, the County of Lackawanna, in lawful session duly assembled, as followed. 1, the county reasonably expects to reimburse original expenditures for the project to be paid by the county from its general fund with proceeds of the bonds. 2, this is a declaration of official intent intended to comply with requirements of Section 1.150-2E of the United States Treasury Regulations. 3, the resolution shall become effective immediately. 4, proper officers of the county are authorized and directed to do such things as may be necessary to carry out the intent and purpose of this resolution. 5, in the event any provision, section, sentence, clause, or part of this resolution shall be held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect or impair any remaining provision, section, sentence, clause, or part of this resolution, it being the intent of this county that such remainder shall be and shall remain in full force and effect. Commissioners, this is a copy of the reimbursement resolution. Mr. Durkin is not available, but I'd be happy to explain it to you. By law, when we are going to do a building out on Wyoming Avenue, we did the same thing we did the government center building.
It's one of Joan's questions. That's why
We do pay it. We pay the expenditures out of the general fund. In order to return the money from the general, return back to the general fund, we have to have this resolution passed, which allows us to take the money out of the bank proceeds, whether it's from a capital borrowing, whether it's from a bank borrowing, or whether from it's a bond proceeds, and reimburse the money to the county. Because this resolution was so extensive, this is actually the reimbursement resolution itself. We didn't attach a separate agreement because the solicitor made this specific to explain every requirement in the agreement. Originally, I thought that we were going to do a resolution, a brief resolution, and then explain the conditions in it, but we made it together and we put everything into the one resolution. So this is to protect the legal interest of the county so we can return the money back to the general fund that we loan to it for capital projects or bond projects.
just like the Globe store.
Exactly the same thing, sir.
Board have any questions?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I thought this was for a $25,000 to be provided to, what is this? Is this for the,
No.
This is the actual.
what's
Give you an
going on here?
example. For example, on this one, we wrote out a check for a hearing in the city of Scranton before the zoning board. In order for us to get the money returned to the general fund after we do it, that would come out of the proceeds. That was $14,000. We'd be able to return that money back to the general fund. There's an example. We wrote a check for $10,000 for a down payment for 1360 Wyoming Avenue. We did that out of the general fund. Once this is borrowed, then we'll be able to return that money to the general fund. And there are several other examples that will go on and on, but they're just two to come to mind at the top of my head.
But is this saying that we're approving to take a bond out? What is
No,
this
this is,
saying?
No.
we're nowhere near
No.
this.
No. This is, when we
'Cause
do that.
we don't have any money to give towards this. So I don't know,
Nothing
where
at
are we
this
pulling the money
We're,
from?
we're using it out of our cash reserves.
If we-
And rather-
this is
And
a bond
this money's
issue.
gonna come out of capital improvements. That's
When
what
we
we're looking at.
when we either pass a bond issue or do a bank borrowing, we're going to return the money to the general fund.
But that
Right.
doesn't say that. It says bond issues, for one thing. And for another thing, we haven't borrowed any money yet.
No, we have
So-
not borrowed any money
why-
at all.
Why do we need to do this prior to
Right.
deciding what we're going to do?
Because we're already utilizing money at this point.
That-
This
that
is to
is
show
correct.
exactly how much we utilize. Approximately at this point, we're probably at like $35,000.
Mr. Durkin and the solicitors explained to me in order to protect the legal interests of the county, when we're expending any county funds on a project for capital
It's a ledger.
improvements,
It's a
that
ledger of what
it
we
has
spent
to, it has to be
pay
entered.
ourselves
We have
back.
to have the agreement to reimburse us back.
Why is a time frame involved in this? Why is it something we need to do prior to deciding what we're doing?
Because we're already starting to expend money. We expended 10,000 already.
Right, and-
Now we're expending another 15, and we're gonna spend a little bit more.
Proactive, we can get it back once we do that.
Yeah, once we get our official loan, then we can pay ourselves back.
We also paid a down payment. We also paid a down payment on the building through the real estate agreement, when we made a deposit on the building. We'll return that money to the general fund.
But this is kind of saying that we're going to somehow take a bond out without saying how much the bond is going to be, correct?
That is correct.
Well, I'm not voting on that.
I make a motion that we table this until the next meeting.
Uh,
A second?
This is something that we have a lot of stuff going on right now at this point.
Well, we were advised that we should pass it at this meeting, but I certainly respect your opinion. If you
If you guys
wish
would
to
like to look
table,
at it,
we'll
we
do
can
that. Sure.
discuss it at the work.
Yeah,
discuss the work session.
I'm not in favor of the project to begin with, so I'm not, I mean, we don't have the money. We don't have any money to pay for this. Where are we getting the money?
This is the money that we're going to be taking out in the future. That's what this is.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to
We
vote
don't
on
have that
that.
money
I
right
don't know
now.
what that is at this point, though.
Right, so I'm not,
We
voting.
are- we are engaged to buy the building. We
We
did
did
not-
discuss it in a work session with the commissioners that we were either
Approximately
going
a
to
week and a
do
half ago.
a capital borrowing or a bank borrowing. We just didn't exercise.
I didn't
This
it.
agree
did
to
just
that.
happen.
Or a bank borrowing. It says a
Pardon me,
bond
sir?
issue. It says a bond.
I understand that. We could potentially do a bank borrowing. We're looking into that too, if that could save us additional money.
Again, that's not what this resolution says.
You're correct, sir.
Okay. I make a motion.
This
to
isn't to
table.
lock it in as a board.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, 18-0060.
Approving contracts for the offices of BHIDEI. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby approves the contracts between the Department of Health and Human Services, Lackawanna, Susquehanna, Behavioral Health and Textual Disabilities Early Intervention Program and providers for fiscal year 2017-2018 as attached hereto. And there are several pages and several agreements, which would probably take us about 45 minutes to read all of them. So I've asked the solicitors, and Mr. Jeremy Yale is going to explain these agreements in bulk, and if you wish to read each one individually, we could do that.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning. This is for our the program's 2017-2018 annual contracts. We currently contract with 49 different agencies to provide services across the three program areas of mental health services, intellectual disabilities, and early intervention. With those resources and with those contracts, it helps the county meet the service needs of approximately 19,000 people. These contracts, as Andy had indicated, are kind of lengthy in terms of the scope of services that are provided. So I thought that I can just maybe speak to a little bit of the highlights of what these contracts are going towards.
This is something that you do regularly, Jeremy?
This is our routine.
It's a routine. It's
Yes.
normal operating business.
This is something we've gone through every year.
Yep, it's a standard, if you will.
Yes.
So we're using these services to support individuals with serious mental illness, to maintain housing, to support people with intellectual disabilities and autism, to receive services throughout the day, to seek and secure employment. We use these services for case management and for emergency mental health crisis, for occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, for children and their families, among many other service lines.
This is the Medicaid program that we actually manage through the state, correct?
These are
the BHIDEI, is that?
So these would be, this is the Behavioral Health Intellectual Disabilities Early Intervention Program. There are some Medicaid dollars, Commissioner, but primarily this would be related to the monies that are sent directly to the county.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does the
Jeremy,
board
why don't
have
you
any
give
other
me the
questions?
amount too, 13 million, so that they know. That's how much it's expended. It's $13,553,306, correct, Jeremy, for all the contracts?
Correct.
Wait.
And the Lackawanna County match is approximately 4%.
That's what I was going to ask. What's our match? How much is our match?
$565,600. 4% of the total amount, and the total allocation for all the contracts is $13,553,306.
Which, again, is a great return for us.
Right, but now, there were some contracts that were at zero amounts, so we're going to go over that later, but, and I did not read through all the contracts yet, so, I'm not saying I don't support this program. What I'm saying is I did not have the opportunity. I have stacks this high, and there's 3 of them.
Sure.
So I did have a lot of questions, and it's just so the audience, and just so it's on record, that I am looking into a couple things that I feel can be changed. So just wanted to make sure that I had that on the record, that I hadn't read all the contracts yet, but I'm getting to them.
Does the board have any other questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion approving the provider contracts for Office of BHIDEI. Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Yes.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
That's an important program.
Oh, okay, just
I
well,
didn't get a chance to go through all those.
18-0062.
Authorizing submission of a grant. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby authorizes submission of a grant to Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for North Pocono Trail design, which will be constructed from the borough of Elmhurst, approximately 4 miles to the borough of Dunmore, utilizing a former railroad corridor owned by the county. And Mr. Bill Davis, our Director of Parks and Recreation, is here to explain the agreement.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is actually the beginning of a project that's been a long time coming. The land that we're talking about was purchased in 1980 with funds from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that the county used to buy a 10-mile tract of land, which was abandoned rail line, with the idea that we would develop it into a recreation area. In 2004, the North Pocono Rotary and the Lackawanna River Corridor Association did a feasibility study on the whether we could do a trail along there and the potential cost. We're using that as our base for this project. It's just great timing on the county's part, and also we're working with PennDOT. This is tied to the I-84 bridge construction, and underneath that bridge is an abandoned rail bridge that they will be rehabbing to the tune of about $1 million. That, believe it or not, is what's going to enable us to do the
We can
trail
use that as
project.
the call for the grant.
We're going to be able to use that as our match for the trail construction. This grant is only $170,000, and it's for design-only funds. And the reason it's for that amount is because that's the eligible amount of funds that we can use right now, because it has to be spent by PennDOT. We will be doing subsequent applications going forward, mainly for the construction of this, but in the end, we'll have a $2 million project that the county won't have any funds into.
But what's the end product? Is it, I thought they just needed us to open that up so that they can drive and do their work on the rail. Wasn't that what it was?
They have to refurb the bridge, actually, to be able to do it. So what we're doing is we're getting a refurbishment of the bridge.
Right.
And we're getting a match to actually do work to actually make it into a trail beyond that. But the big thing is, the bridge is actually ours, because we own all these bridges. It's just a county thing. Instead of us having to ever do
I
any type of
agree
work.
with that.
So
I
it
agree
does
with the
work.
bridge part. I just don't.
Commissioners are aware too. The bridge, we own the bridge. We have
Right.
purchased it in the
Yeah.
past, and quite frankly, it's a liability right now. It's
Right.
in
Yeah.
rough shape, and somebody's
They're gonna
somebody gets
put it
hurt
up to
on
date
that.
and everything else.
Yeah,
It's
they're
gonna be.
completely refurbish the bridge, as I understand it.
That's correct.
And it's
That's
going to be
correct.
up to.
So they could drive their trucks over
Yeah.
it and do the work that they need to do.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So why do we have to build a trail along with it? I'm confused by that.
Well, this actually dates back to an agreement that the county had entered into, that we were, because of the funding of the land purchase, we were supposed to develop it for recreation. And basically it enables us, because of the investment they're putting in the bridge, it's enabling us to utilize those funds as our match. So, and it's something that's been on, as far as from a planning standpoint, on the books for quite some time. So it's just us being able to, if it wasn't for PennDOT doing that construction, it wouldn't be feasible for us to do it. It would be
Right.
basically $1 million and we wouldn't be able to do it.
So
But
this
the
is just
fact
an
that,
authorization to apply for a grant, period?
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And we're going to have, in the end, PennDOT's going to fix the bridge, and you're going to build yet another recreation area which nobody goes to, and we have to pay to renovate. Is that what you're going to do? Because
We're going to be building a trail, Commissioner.
This will be a great addition onto what we have up at Covington Park. This will be something that our maintenance people would just have to go through so many times a year just to make sure
And
that.
Commissioner, that-
so if I vote no because then people say, she doesn't want to fix the bridge because she's getting a free bridge from PennDOT, but you tied this in with that. So
Well, it has to be.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
appreciate that.
He has to, because the grant, he needs the
done-
match.
To provide a trail.
Yes.
What does that have to do with PennDOT fixing the bridge for free?
Well, because we're utilizing that money. It would be basically a waste of, to not do it, I don't think would be responsible. I mean, we're actually taking, basically, and I don't mean to use free, but it's not going to cost the county anything to go after this grant money.
They're going to make that bridge look like it's brand new.
Yes.
And then at the end, we're going to be able to make a trail. And people in North Pocono will definitely utilize it.
Yes, I mean, one group, the North Pocono Trail Association, they're very enthusiastic about it. DCNR is supportive of it. PennDOT's supportive of it. I think in the end it will get used, Commissioner. North Pocono, that area as a whole is really underserved when it comes to recreation.
Are our trails utilized that we have
Yes.
thus far?
Absolutely.
All the time?
Yes.
Bikes, walkers, everybody, runners.
Even if you take that out.
It should
and
be like
just
the
with
turnpike. There
5Ks,
should be a toll
there's
on
a-
them so we could tell.
There's a
Oh,
tremendous
there's a
amount.
lot of people using that. Everybody,
There's a tremendous amount of use.
It's actually-
I mean, even if you just
let them
look
pay
at the
for it if they
advertisements
use
for
it.
5Ks.
Why do I have to
There's
pay
a
for
lot
it?
of use on the
go
trail.
down by the Southside Complex and just sit, just park your car and watch.
No, thank
Especially
you.
morning and afternoon.
Not by myself. No. All right, go ahead. Let's just get this over with.
Okay.
It's painful for me.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion, authorize the submission of a grant.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Reluctantly, yes. God.
Yes, this is going to be great for the North Pocono area. It's going to be a great opportunity. And that bridge is going to be beautiful.
When's it
at
going to
the
be
end.
done? In like 10 years or something?
There's a timeline that's attached. The reason that we're doing this now is that we have a very specific timeline that goes from now until 2025.
2025.
Yes.
There you go. I won't be here, so.
Opportunity for the public to address the board.
This is it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bike trail too? Oh,
It's a-
God, you always get me on these. You got to.
Joan Hodawanitz,
Very nice.
220 Linden Street, Scranton. First, I want to compliment you on having the children here from the Kennedy School. I thought that was...
It's a nice map, wasn't it?
it's a significant achievement for 8-year-olds. Okay, I don't subscribe to the philosophy that everything a child does merits recognition, because then you trivialize recognition. But a project of that scope.
Geography, downtown, it's
You know,
really nice.
I mean, also to expose them to local history, I think is a good thing. And I would recommend that you encourage all the school districts in the county that when they have a class that has a major accomplishment like that, invite them here. Because, you know.
Joan, that's what we do all the time, actually, at this
Right,
point.
because, you know, when they do have a major accomplishment, the recognition is often enough to encourage them to work even harder and to reach higher. I'm not saying everything deserves an invite here, but that certainly did. So I congratulate you
Special.
for having that done. Okay, let's talk about how much money we're spending on legal fees for this prison issue. Do we have a running tally? I said during my last appearance, you know, please keep a running tally because I'll be asking every commissioner's meeting. So how much money have we expended in legal fees? Do we know?
I've been asking for that answer for a while, Joan.
Okay.
When
We should
I
know
asked for that at the last meeting. When
Yeah. We should also know how much we've paid in pay and benefits to the individuals who are out on administrative leave. Now, I understand that a number of those individuals were actually terminated in the last few days.
I think so.
And I got to tell you, I'm not terribly comfortable with that. Hypothetically, let's assume you have an individual that killed my mother, okay? And he's put in prison, you know, waiting trial. And the state thinks, or, you know, the government thinks they have a slam dunk case. And because, from what I read in the paper, this is an egregious offense, you know, that the county would have the right to terminate that individual even before he goes to trial. What happens if a person like that walks on a technicality? Are you going to then be sued for back pay? You know, I'm just a little bit uncomfortable because I would prefer to see a situation in which the policy was you put them on administrative leave, you pay them, and if they're convicted, they pay the money back at 8% interest. That would make me happy. That would make me happy.
We're not allowed to do that.
But, you know, but having terminated them early in the process, let's pray, you know, that we aren't going to regret that decision, because that could amount to a pretty penny of money, especially, you know, the way the wheels of justice can grind exceedingly slowly. So that may be a lot of money in the long term. What about these selfies being taken down in prison? I hope that when you reconvene with the prison board, you take a hard look at how in the world they're getting that kind of contraband of cell phones into the prison, and why no one's checking periodically, randomly, social media to see if that kind of thing is happening. Even if you don't find the cell phone and they've been smuggled in, you can periodically check maybe 10 people randomly once a week, see if they're active on social media, which they should not be. Not if they've been incarcerated. Thank you. I'll be back next week for an update on how much money we spent on legal fees.
Thanks, John.
The reason I asked that, just so you understand, is I have no problem paying my taxes, okay, because the taxes I pay are for services that I can't provide for myself. And if you go down to Washington, you go to the headquarters of the IRS, you'll see them blazoned across the entrance. Taxes are the price we pay for civilization, and I fully concur with that. But the legal fees we're paying in this situation are nothing we ever budgeted for, nor should we have to budget for. We should have a prison that runs efficiently, effectively, and lawfully. That's why I'm asking for that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Okay. How you doing, sir? Name and address.
Okay. Name, Dale Shoup. I'm actually
What
from
is it?
Wyoming County, but I'm president of the Wyoming Lackawanna County Farm Bureau. And I'd just like to have a few minutes to tell you some of the stuff that is going on and what we're doing across the whole area. We're a grassroots organization. We've got roughly 280 regular members and about 1,300 associates. I held a meeting last year in Newton. I want to call it the Newton School, but I guess it's a township building, on clean and green. I coordinated the meeting and got to meet some of your people. We do lobby in the state and in national. If you go and talk for our group, as a lobbyist, I call it the Bible, that's got to be in there or we can't talk about it and work through that kind of stuff. Some of the other things we're doing, we're trying to educate. We have an ag in the classroom, which is for teachers. They go to Penn State for like 4 days and actually are told to bring their boots because you're going to get out and see what ag's all about. And they actually get out in the barns and stuff like that. And then we have a mobile ag lab that is a 40-foot trailer that we take to schools. Yeah, it costs a little bit of money. It will be at Lackawanna Trail the last week in this month. And we kind of try to sponsor it. My aim right now is I'm working with Representative Sid Michaels to have it possibly at Riverside for next year. Our goal is to put it in one school district every year. And we've had it in Abington Heights, and it's been out in North Pocono, which covers us. And then we have another thing that's a big going on this year, and we're starting new, which read in the classroom. We've got books, we go and we read to young kids in the classroom. Actually, this one's not the one we're reading, but this one here is Sleep Tight Farm, is a book we have this year. And I'd like to leave this here with somebody, if they have contacts with the Scranton Library. We'd like to see it go there.
That would be John.
We actually have one of the board
Okay,
here.
I have
Yeah.
it with me on that. So we're working with them, and actually we got a book that we're reading. Tyler Makes Pancakes is one we're reading. And we lobby, and some of the things we're lobbying on is in the state, property tax reform, fairness to the gas wells, exemption for the high tunnel structures, agronism law and the farm credit, protection for grain farmers, additional training for human social police officers, and additional enforcement power for sheriff's offices. If I get the right page here. And on the national level, we're talking tax reform, farm policy, trade, immigration reform, and regulation reform. We take actually April, I think 16th, we're in Harrisburg. And another one we're working on April 10th, I think we're collecting stuff for Ronald McDonald House here in Scranton. And that we'll be looking for news media for that. And I do have, it's something we're working on, rural road safety. It's a program that's done this year in Wyoming County where the state police and hopefully PennDOT and some of them people will show up and we're getting news media there and show them what the emblem is. We're a slow-moving vehicle sign, what it's all about, and it's coming farm time. Farmers and that are going to be on the road with equipment. We can't always see you, and you can't always see us, so let's try and work together. Another little thing we're doing for the guys with their equipment, we've got this little sticker. You used to have the sticker you put in the window for kids in the bedroom. This sticker goes on the dash in the tractor, telling you when you start the tractor, look, see if there's any kids around you. And that's some of the stuff that's going on with us. We got benefits, we do some scholarships, and that. But I just thought I'd like to come and present what we do, and we're there. One of our big things right now, our logo, growing communities, many voices, united vision, is what we're working on. Agriculture, if we don't have agriculture, guess what? We don't have food. Thank you very much. Have any questions or anything?
Do you have a brochure? Or?
Thank you.
Do
And that,
you have a brochure with you?
I've got my own personal card.
I'll take that.
Well, it's been great. I work, Sid Michaels. him and I know I'm not one of his vote, but when we go to Harrisburg, he's the first guy in the morning I see. His door is open, and if you mention my name to Sid, we've become very good friends, and he works hard for us. And
Have you met with the Conservation Board at all?
I haven't yet, no. I've met the one in Wyoming, but haven't. But we're out there willing to work with them.
Leave your card. I'll see if I can get you to meet with them, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
And what was your name again? Gail?
Dale Shoop, S-H-U-P-P.
Shoop. Thank you.
But thank you very much.
Thanks for
If
coming
anything
in.
we can do to help you or work with you, we're there to help, because we've got to continue to go forward.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Joan's in the back of the room. She'd definitely be interested in the book. Anyone else? Commissioner Cummings.
I wasn't really going to talk about anything today, but Andy, do you mind if I just? I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but it's here. And, well, I'm not going to pick on you. I just have. I'm not going to. I don't pick on people, do I? I don't know. I would never do that. The only issue I have with these things that I voted against. Was anybody required to give their cell phone to the sheriffs downstairs today that are here at the meeting? Does anybody have a cell phone that? Who? Did anybody have to hand them over to the sheriffs to put in these?
They're mostly our employees here.
Oh, they're employees, okay. The problem that I had was that everybody was, we voted, commissioners, to have anyone that was going into the courts to turn their phones over. We didn't vote to have everybody that entered the building turn their phones over to the sheriffs. So that's a complaint that I'm getting from people that are coming to the meetings, that they're being told they have to hand over their cell phones to the sheriffs and put them in these bags that don't work, and they're going to get replacements for. So can we decide on what that's going to be? Is for everybody? Because I don't want everybody to have their cell phones
The resolution we passed, Commissioners, I believe it was about 6 months ago when we started the program.
It's a pilot program, by the way.
It was a pilot program.
Still
and
is.
It was for the people to surrender their cell phones that were going into the family courtrooms in this building. That is what the resolution said. I questioned the court administrator on this after you had raised the subject to me, and he explained to me that the sheriff has implemented it, that anybody entering the building now will have to surrender their cell phones, other than county employees.
So the sheriff can change the way that the county does business.
I believe he's doing it for a security reason, but I didn't have a direct conversation with the
Did he
sheriff.
ever come to any of you to tell you that he was going to implement that?
The court administrators told me that people were lying to the sheriffs that were downstairs, saying they were going to other places and sneaking the phones into the courtrooms, and that's the reason the sheriff decided to take everybody's phones as they were coming into the building. I did not speak to Sheriff McAndrew directly on that. That was relayed to me by the court administrator, Frank Castellano.
And this is what I was talking about last time, about the departments just deciding things without even telling us. Because people complain to us.
That should be revisited, I would think.
That's what
That's what I'm
Cummings
asking, if
raised
we
to
can
me,
please revisit that, because they're making these rules on the people that come into our building. It was not the resolution we passed.
We'll address that with them, and we'll ask them to come and give us an explanation, and if we have to, either amend the resolution or do a policy change for you.
I wouldn't agree to
Have them come to
that.
the work session, Andy.
I sure will.
I will not agree to
I'll
just
invite-
taking everybody's cell phone off them. This is a
I'll
public
invite the-
meeting, you can't do that.
I'll invite the sheriff and the court administrator to come to our next work session.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I just want to clarify that point, because when I was coming here to the meetings when Corey O'Brien was here, I don't know if you all remember, you might remember, Commissioner O'Malley, Ray Nearhood came in and had a camera with him, a video camera, and brought it in, and they confiscated him, and he complained about it at the podium. And Commissioner O'Brien specifically told the sheriffs to give that back, that they could not do that. And that is not allowed. You cannot take somebody's cell phone off them. This is a public meeting. and you cannot confiscate that phone from them to come to our public meeting. So the sheriff should have come to us and discussed it with us before he implemented anything that happens in our building here. And that was part of the reason that I said in the last meeting that there's a couple of issues that I wanted to bring up in regards to some department heads that are elected officials that, make decisions and then they don't even talk to us about it. And when I get complaints from the public, and that's not fair to do to us as the city commissioners. And actually, where's our policies on that? We need a policy on that because this is happening way too often. And I just want to bring that to everyone's attention because it's we need policies and procedures in place to stop that, and it should not be allowed. And, I'm not sure why it happens, but I think it needs to stop. And I think for future commissioners, so that they don't have to deal with this, that it should be looked into. And I thank Commissioner Notarianni for agreeing on that, and Commissioner O'Malley. But it's an issue. It's a problem. Not just this time, but this is the kind of thing that happens all the time here. And frankly, it's not right. There should be policies and procedures in place that have to be followed. I understand they're elected officials, but that doesn't mean that they can override the decisions of the commissioners
I'll invite
or make their own rules up.
I'll invite our Director of Human Resources to come to our work session and bring all current policies and procedures, and we'll talk to them about updating necessary ones. We'll do that at our session this week.
Okay, and also because we're revisiting this issue with these cell phone policy, this thing that we're using, it's a pilot program. And as far as I'm concerned, the pilot program failed. These don't work. Cell phones don't fit in them. These things don't work. They're broken. They are getting replaced. I understand that. The company's agreeing to send them to us free of charge to replace all the broken ones. But as far as I can tell, it's a failed. Here you go, Commissioner. You can look at it. They failed. They don't work. They don't even shut. And these can be cut right off. If somebody brings scissors, it's a failed project. It's a waste of money. And we don't have the money to waste right now. We're looking at buying another building. I mean, we have to start setting priorities somewhere. So I think I'm happy we're revisiting that with keeping it in mind that it is a pilot program. Joan, I did ask about the attorney fees because, with this company that came in to look at the prison, they had asked us what the legal fees were when they met with us. And it's not budgeted in our prison budget. So I had asked at that meeting, where is the legal fees? So we do have our insurance. Rick, do you have an idea of, what is the exact legal fees that we're spending in regards to?
Are you talking about the legal fees when the AG came in and seized all of the records and that?
At any time. No,
Myers, Pryor, and Kelly?
I specifically said I wanted the legal fees for the prison for the past 5 years, and I still haven't gotten them. Did anybody ask you for those for me?
Yes, I believe the middle of last week, I was asked to compile that. I just haven't had a chance to get that. We had a snow day on Wednesday, and in the 16 hours on Thursday and Friday, I didn't have a chance to finish acquiring all of that information.
I understand it's a lot of information. I agree with that, but it needs to be done because this is something that they requested. This company has requested 4 weeks ago.
Well, I was just asked, I believe, Tuesday of last week.
Thank you for telling me that because I was asked a long time ago. So I'll look back on my records to see exactly when. But that should be a part of our budget. Thank you. That's all I needed. But if you can get that to us, I would greatly appreciate it. That isn't included in our budget for the prison. And it's ridiculous. It should, and I guess all the legal fees are not designated out to the departments that are utilizing the legal services, and I believe they should be. I think that should be a change in our budget because, why isn't that designated to the specific office that it's being spent on? I don't understand that. Is there a reason, Andy, or is it just because it was always that way?
We will get you the total cost, and they've never been projected before on how much additional money we would have to spend on things like this. But when we do our current budget, perhaps we should have a contingency in there to address such items after you see the amount of money that we actually spend.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
your point's well taken.
and I would, depending on those legal costs,
Right.
That's something that this company said that they would absorb, should they, decide to, should we decide to privatize the prison, and that would be their cost, not the taxpayers any longer. So, I mean, it's just amazing that these weren't budgeted ever. I can't imagine that.
You want legal fees plus amounts paid for settlements.
Yeah, I did request that. That's what I requested in the last
She also
meeting.
wants the amount of money the county expended for employees who are on administrative leave and their benefits, which has been going on for approximately a year, correct?
Any amounts paid out,
We're
correct.
gonna get all
That's
of
what I
that
requested
together.
last time.
We're going to
yeah.
get all that together for her.
And I didn't get it yet. So anyway, thanks for bringing that, Joan, because when the public comes in and asks it, then it somehow, obviously, it gets addressed. So I appreciate you asking that question. As far as all the other issues in the prison, that's up to the warden to, all that stuff is currently under investigation. I have nothing that I can say against other than it's under investigation. That's my comment on that. Mr. Shope, I appreciate he left. Did he leave? Yeah, I appreciate him coming in. Everybody knows I'm on the conservation board, and right now we're having Fran. They're selling their plants now, right? What are they selling? Seedlings, yes. So if you can go on our website and see the seedling sale. Last year I got blueberries and blueberry plants.
That was the problem.
Are they still alive?
No. I know. So I
No
got
more
two trees.
conservation for you.
No, I got 2 trees and the blueberry plants, and they said they had to be planted in a specific part of the yard. So I left them out for the.
Today's a good day.
At my last meeting, I said, "Oh, good, you're having that." And Jerry Stiles said, "Yeah, but you have to plant them this time." Anyway, so for the public, they have all kinds of trees and plants, and it's just a great project. And they also have classes that you could take, which I guess I better take one of them in regards to where to plant them in your yard, and where they grow best, and what kind of problems you might have if you plant one tree next to. Because that was what happened. I had a pear tree and a peach tree or something, and you can't plant them together. I guess they have to be so far apart. And they're just a wealth of information. So hopefully you can go on the website and order some plants for the spring. Thank you very much. And, St. Patty's Day is over, but we're wearing the green, right?
No, it's the Saturday.
Commissioner O'Malley, before
17th,
Commissioner
yeah.
Cummings is finished, I do want to just clarify the record on one issue.
Yeah, go ahead.
In regard to the yonder sleeves, after we did question this with the court administrator's office, they did submit a written explanation to Commissioner O'Malley, which I shared with the 3
Everyone,
commissioners,
yes.
explaining what they did and that they were corrected, and they had representatives from the company come in, and they would be
I said that,
repla-
yeah.
And I just want to make certain that the record
Yeah.
reflects that they did agree to do that.
They agreed to give, I said they're going to be replaced free of charge.
I know you have a lot of concerns with the program, and I respectfully understand it. But I do want to say that they did respond to the request immediately, and they submitted a memorandum to explain to us what was going on with it.
Of course they did. Did you see what they had? Of course they had to do that.
I
Didn't have a
understand. I just
choice.
want to make certain it's on the record, Commissioner. So, thank you.
Commissioner Terriani.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Joan, we're hoping for December, we're looking at December 2nd of 2018. Beyond that, we get paid daily for every day that they go over. Once they get all the main stuff done, when they get the electric all roughed in, the walls, everything else, they get to the finishing, then we're going to hope to push it to try to get it done earlier. Commissioner Cummings wants it to be done earlier. I'd like to see it be done earlier, so that it's an opportunity. We're hoping that comes up in the next so many months. But it looks like the absolute date, if everything falls through, will be December 2nd. Our elevator, we have 6 elevators at the Globe store, and one of them, our maintenance director believes he can get fixed at a cheaper and with a cost-effective savings for us, for the county. So that's something he's looking into. Our maintenance director actually had our freight elevator that was down for those that are here today. Remembers when our freight elevator was down for about 3 years, it was supposedly going to cost about $500,000. When our new maintenance director came in, he got it fixed for $65,000. So we have the utmost faith in his ability to get the elevator fixed. This past Saturday, St. Patrick's Day Parade was a great day downtown Scranton. A lot of smiling faces, family memories being made left and right. Just a great day downtown. A little cold, but a great day. Just hats off to the parade committee. They did a fabulous job. Great economic impact. There was tons of people downtown, lots of restaurants, taverns, shopping in general. So it was just a great day. Our law enforcement were everywhere downtown to make sure that all of our parade goers were safe and happy, and everything was seamless. Everything just went great. And last but not least, I'd just like to wish everyone a happy and safe St. Patrick's Day this coming Saturday. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.